All right, so I have stuff both from the Observer and both from Bret's book that I will read through just to kind of, we can kind of put an end to our build up to this Montreal screw job. So I either forgot or didn't realize that this had happened, but kind of in the last week or so, it's leaked that Bret's leaving, and it's actually the best thing that could happen to this pay-per-view, because so many people are now interested thanks to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so Vince writes a note. I'm assuming it was like to whatever AOL group or wherever the website was, how people got to the website back in 1997. But he writes a note. I'm going to read the note. He says, "Over the past few days, I've read certain comments on the internet concerning Bret Hart and his alleged reasons for wanting to pursue other avenues than the World Wrestling Federation to earn his livelihood. While I respect the opinions of others, as the owner of the World Wrestling Federation, I felt that it was time to set the record straight. As it has been reported recently online, part of Bret's decision to pursue other options is allegedly due to his concern with the direction of the World Wrestling Federation, whereby each and every individual is entitled to his or her opinion. I take a great offense when the issue of the direction of the World Wrestling Federation is raised. In this age of sports entertainment, the World Wrestling Federation refuses to insult its audience in terms of baby faces and heels." And now I'm going to interrupt this. He basically does this promo not exactly about Bret, but about wrestling, like at some point coming up soon, right? He just it's like he opens up a show about it or something.
Yeah, I do remember that, yes.
All right, then he says, "In 1997, how many people do you truly know who are strictly good guys or bad guys? World Wrestling Federation programming reflects more of a reality-based product in which life, as well as World Wrestling Federation superstars, are portrayed as they truly are, in shades of gray, not black or white. From what I'm reading, it has been reported that Bret may be concerned about the morality issues in the World Wrestling Federation, questionable language, questionable gestures, questionable sexuality, questionable racial issues." Oh, come on, Vince. Questionable? All of the issues mentioned above are issues that every human being must deal with every day of their lives. Also, with that in mind, please be aware that Bret Hart has been cautioned on numerous occasions to alter his language by not using expletives or God's name in vain. He was told on numerous occasions not to use certain hand gestures some might find offensive. My point is, regardless of what some are reporting, Bret's decision to pursue other career options is not genuinely, here we go, not genuinely a Shawn Michaels direction issue, as they would like you to believe. In the personification of D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels' character is expected to be living on the edge, which I might add Mr. Michaels portrays extremely well. The issue here is that the direction of the World Wrestling Federation is not determined by Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart for that matter. It is determined by you, the fans of the World Wrestling Federation. You demand a more sophisticated approach. You demand to be intellectually challenged. You demand a product with attitude. And as the owner of this company, it is my responsibility to give you exactly what you want. Personally, I regret the animosity that is built up between Shawn and Bret, but in the end, it is the World Wrestling Federation that is solely responsible for the content, not Bret, not Shawn, not Vince. May the best man win at Survivor Series." Whoa, yeah. What a letter. That was amazing.
Yeah. Don't forget all Austin doing his thing and whatever, Vince. Classic stuff.
Oh, man.
It's like Tully Blanchard just cheating to beat Dusty Rhodes or any other babyface, and getting his ass kicked in the house shows, and the fans come on TV to watch Saturday morning to see Tully Blanchard got his, the Horsemen got theirs, and then they just talk about women and partying and money and the titles, and you're like, oh, those guys. That's Vince. He's getting ready to come heel Vince, man.
All right, so a few days before, they're at the Sky Dome, and they're in a 6-man, And I think it was Austin, Taker, may have been Michaels, may have been Foley. I don't exactly remember who the third person was on that team against Bret, Neidhart, and Davey Boy. And Bret was supposed to be pinned in this match, and Bret said no because he's the only Canadian in this match, and he didn't want to be pinned, so Austin pins Anvil instead. So, what's supposed to be the finish of this match? So, this is Dave. Dave writes that Hart and Michaels were dressing together, putting the match together. This is the day of the show. Both were professional with one another and talking about putting on the best match possible in Hart's last hurrah, agreeing to a DQ finish in about 17 minutes after a lengthy brawl before the bell would even sound to start the match. As they were putting their spots together, Patterson came in. He had a suggestion for a high spot in the match as a false finish. There would be a ref bump. Michaels would put Hart in his own sharpshooter. Hart would reverse the hold. Hebner would still be down at this point and not see Michaels tap out. So when Bret saw Earl get up a little bit early, he was probably like, oh, shit. Hart would release the hold to revive Hebner. Michaels would hit him when he turned around with the sweet chin music. A second ref, Mike Chioda, would haul ass to the ring and begin the count. A few paces behind Owen and Davey Boy, and possibly Neidhart as well, would run down to the ring. Chioda would count 1, 2, and whomever got to the ring first, probably Owen, because he's probably the fastest of those three guys running, would drag Chioda out of the ring. And while they think they've saved the day on the pin on Bret, suddenly Hebner would get up and recover and count 1, 2. Bret would kick out. That would set the pace for about 5 more minutes of near falls. And this is where I was like, oh my God, these near falls would have been amazing. Before it would end up in a disqualification ending. Before the show started, both Vader, with his Japanese experience, and Davey Boy told Bret to watch himself. He was warned not to lay down and not to allow himself to be put in a compromising position. He was told to kick out at 1, not 2, and not allow any submission holds. Bret recognized the possibility of the situation, but his thoughts regarding a double cross were more along the lines of always protecting himself in case Michaels tried to hit him with a sucker punch when he left himself open. The idea that being put in submission or one of the near falls while working spots would be dangerous would be something to normally worry about, but he put it out of his mind because he had Hebner in the ring as the referee. So, you had asked who didn't stay at the show. Mick Foley, Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith all flew home and missed Raw, and then they're not going to be on the next show because they would have missed the next taping for the next Raw.
Yeah. I thought Vader, too, because Vader's not there. Maybe he shows up next week.
I don't know. We'll see.
I do remember Vader telling him about the double cross or the experience. I thought Bret did a good job, though. Like, I think when he saw Hebner up and he starts reversing it.
Yeah.
Or at least attempting to reverse it.
I mean, Shawn almost falls because Bret's got his leg.
So I think that was the saving grace for him. And that's when, I mean, people know he got screwed. They would have known he got screwed anyways by his reaction after. But seeing Shawn, belly first on the mat when the bells rang, it saved him in that and made it. I remember that. What I remember about this match is I went online back in AOL days, the grandstand, and I got a DM. DM. Wait, instant messenger back then, we called them.
AIM. Instant messenger.
You're right. From a person named Mortis WCW. Awesome. And you know who that is?
No.
That's the real life. That was Canyon.
Oh, no way.
He had a board on the grandstand. That was his handle, Mortis WCW. And for whatever reason, he must have thought I was a worker. And he asked me, "Did you think that was real? Do you think that's what was real? Or do you think it's a work?" And I said, "I don't know. It's pro wrestling, And he goes, "Yeah." And then I started asking some questions, and I think he realized I was a fan by my questions. I told him I liked his bumps in the ring. I knew what bumps were because I was at APW.
Right.
just starting as a volunteer. So I knew what bumps were, and I didn't know all the terminology yet. And I remember he was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Are you a worker?" And I was like, "No, I work for All Pro." Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he pretty much figured out, and then the conversation kind of ended soon. So.
Oh,
you know, my AOL name was Rock Benoit back then, so maybe he thought I was Chris Benoit. I don't know. But it's all on AOL.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, so Bret says that like in the beginning, you know, while they're in the dressing room, Shawn is just agreeing to everything. Like he doesn't want Bret to be upset. Like he's just like trying to be so agreeable. Doesn't want any of the smoke. And so Bret was so who said this? It was somebody had told him that Hunter was not where he was supposed to be for the run-in. And Rick Rude, who you had mentioned, was super suspicious. And he said to Bret, "I'll watch your back in case they try to jump you or pull anything funny on you out there." And this is right before he goes to the ring. But I forgot, someone had told him, like, "Hey, man," like, I mean, maybe it was Owen, like, "Dude, like, I don't know where Hunter is. He's supposed to be here." And so that kind of clued them in on, you know, some funny business was going on. So after all the stuff that happens in the ring, they go to the back, and I'll read. This is Bret's book. He writes, "Finally, Vince came down the hall with his posse and stepped into the dressing room. He says he wants to talk to you. Rick called to me in the shower," and that's Rick Rude. "Tell Vince to get the hell out of here before he gets hurt." Rick and Davey returned seconds later and told me in unison, "He says he's staying." I told them to please warn him to leave. If he stays, he's going to get knocked out. They came back with the same answer. I came out of the shower sopping wet with no towel and calmly walked past Vince. I think he said that Davey Boy was like a serial like guy who would forget his towel all the time, and he would just always use Bret's. So Bret didn't have a towel when he's coming out of the shower. He calmly walks past Vince. I was actually thinking that if they ever did a movie about this, it wouldn't look very good if I beat up Vince naked. As I picked up a damp towel off the floor, Vince dryly offered, "It's the first time I ever had to lie to one of my talent." "Who are you kidding, you lying piece of shit?" I shot back. Shawn now sat crying in the corner. Briscoe and Slaughter tried to clear everyone out of the dressing room. Owen was about to leave when Davey grabbed him by the arm. "Don't leave," he said. "Remember what happened to Bruiser Brody." None of my boys left.
Wow.
With Davey, Rick, Owen, and Jim on my left, I sat down and glared at Vince, surrounded by his henchmen, who all stood with their arms behind their backs. Taker was also there offering me full support. Shawn was still blubbering like a baby, his head in his hands. "You told me I could leave any way I wanted, that I was Cal Ripken, that I was doing you a favor, that you appreciated everything I ever did, that for everything I've done, there was no reason for any problems. You told me nothing but lies all week, all fucking year," I said in a surprisingly calm voice. And then I added, "If you're still here when I'm finished getting dressed, I'll have no choice but to punch you out." Vince seemed unfazed, even trying to take credit for my deal with Turner, but I cut him off to remind him that I'd taken the lesser deal from Vince because I wanted to stay loyal to him. After 14 years, you just couldn't let me leave with my head up. I shot him down on every lie. I was calm and rational as I sized up the room and who was where, noticing, too, the look on Owen's face. I could see he was afraid of what it might be like to stay on with Vince after this, whatever this was over, but that he was backing me to the fullest. Like one of my best matches, I could see it all play out in my head. I knew a fight with Vince was likely to come down to a half-ass pull-apart, so I intentionally left my shirt off so no one could grab it. I'd be lucky if I got one good shot in before they all pounced on me. When I tied the laces of my high tops, I stood up and I said, "Okay." I picked up my knee brace, thinking to smash Vince over the head with it, but tossed it down, declaring, "I won't need this." Went straight for him. Cockily, Vince came back at me, and we actually tied up. 14 fucking years. I launched a rocket launcher uppercut that connected with Vince's jaw. My right fist actually popped him like a cork off the ground, and he collapsed unconscious to the carpet. His cavalry jumped in, but they were too late. I found myself jostling with Jerry Briscoe, who I would later find out was the one who had designed the whole screw job for Vince. I told him if he so much touched me again, I'd have to give him the exactly same as I gave Vince, and the lying little coward backed away with his hands up. For the next 40 seconds, we all stared at Vince unconscious, splayed like an X on the floor. I calmly took my seat again and noticed that my hand was throbbing, thought it might be broken. Shane pulled Vince into a sitting position and pleaded with me to let my father get his bearings. And so he remembered that Paul J., who was the documentarian, was outside, and Vince was out of it. And so he wanted the shot of Vince walking out, like all dazed. And so he made Shane and them get him out by threatening to like beat him up more as he's like all messed up. And so as the dressing room was now quiet, except for Shawn sniffling, I walked toward him thinking I should kick the shit out of him too while I had the chance. Instead, I held out my hand. Thanks for the match, Shawn. He shook my broken hand and started crying even harder. It all seemed so surreal. After a few minutes of silence, Jim said with a mischievous smile, I guess they won't say anything to me anymore about smashing TV monitors. Rude, Taker, Owen, Jim, and Davey all burst out laughing. So the part that Bret doesn't write about, which Dave wrote about, was that right as he knocks out Vince, Shane jumps on his back. And Davey grabs Shane, but Davey doesn't have his knee brace on. So as he's trying to pull Shane off, like he hyperextends his knee.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember reading that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, reading it all over again, like, you know, we remember the main parts of it, but there's so many like little subtle pieces that I forget, and I read it every time, and I go, oh my God, like I can't believe it happened like that.
I remember reading the book, and I remember reading Dave's Observer, you know, the classic Observer covering this. But I don't remember. I forget that. I think that's what a great move by Bret on his end to calmly shoot down every lie at Vince, because he knows exactly. And the Undertaker like is there, right? So, and who's like the leader of the locker room. So I thought that was pretty smart to kind of let everything go out there. This guy was going to be loyal. I was going to be loyal to you, and you screwed me, and look what happened. And also, I just love hearing about Shawn crying. I think it's hilarious. We need to get confirmation. Did Undertaker ever say he was crying in the corner? I don't think Undertaker ever did, right?
I don't know.
But I want to know if he was really sobbing, or that was just Bret just trying to really make him look bad. But I'm guessing he did.
Okay, here's my question. Every single time I've listened to this story, Austin's about to be the next guy. Where is Austin during all of this?
He was on earlier. He might have left.
Yeah, I wonder if he mentions it in his book. I haven't read his book in 20 years or whatever.
Shit. I don't remember. Yeah, no, I had it. I don't remember either. I'm guessing maybe he left. He didn't need to be there, right? Or was that for him he was on the middle of the card? Was he in the middle of the card? Or the match
like the match right before the main event, I think.
Yeah, so he maybe was showering and just maybe he wanted to stay and watch it too, right? I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah,
because he knows he's gonna be the top guy. Or I'm sure he has a good idea that he's going to be one of the next guys for sure.
Yeah,
because he's the most popular guy. Vince is doing stuff with him, and so you know if the boss wants to work with you, you're in good hands. So he's got to know that he's going to be next. And even in one of the scenarios that Vince is offering, I think it was one of the ones that we had read a couple weeks ago. But in one of the scenarios, Bret beats Shawn Michaels in that retirement match. And the funny thing is Shawn was the one who was supposed to get screwed so Bret could win the match. And then Bret's going to lose to Austin at WrestleMania 14. Like, that was one of the scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Austin didn't want nothing to do with it to kind of screw his push up. Because, you know.
That's what I'm wondering, which wrestling is such everybody's a shark because you don't get you get so few opportunities to be that guy. So when you do get that opportunity, you sort of see Bret as like this legend, but at the same time you're like, you know what? That's between him and Vince. Like I can't let that screw up me being the top guy, feeding my family, all that stuff. So when there's only a few spots, it's just I could totally see Austin just being like, nope, I'm not getting involved. They're men. They got to figure it out. And you could even talk yourself into saying, Bret just signed with WCW, so he's gonna be richer than me. Like, what do I care, right?
Yeah. I mean, this happens in corporate America all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you might experience something similar. I've experienced something similar where you kind of go in as you trying to make a stand or as a unit, but there's that one person's like, nah, I don't want to. Like it just kind of falls apart, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've seen that happen, many times. So yeah, I think Austin definitely didn't want to rock the boat because he was still. This is his biggest push ever, right? So
yeah,
and who else?
And he almost lost his career like a couple months ago. So it's another thing that he's probably thinking about. How much time do I really have left?
Davey Boy Smith thinking that Bret might get knifed was a little much, but yeah, I guess they thought they're gonna jump it. But I know Jerry Briscoe was a high level amateur wrestler, and I know Pat Patterson. I know everyone's back then was trained to shoot just in case, right? Shit happened. But come on.
I mean, supposedly that night, Pat's like teaching him holds, right? Like teaching Shawn holds.
After it was over, Pat's like, Vince is like, how'd it go? He did. Oh, God. Can you imagine if Bret got wind beforehand and put it all together and just what would we do? Like we just go out there and beat the shit out of Shawn?
Oh my God, I don't know. Like,
could you imagine?
Yeah, that would be crazy.
That would be. We're watching. Oh, this is gonna be great. And all of a sudden,
I mean, what
destroys them.
Well, what if someone's a double agent on Vince, right? Like, what if Pat's just like, because I don't know if you saw or, you didn't see the what was the documentary on
Wrestling in Shadows?
No, not that one. The one that they just did on
Dark Side
on Vice, yeah. On that trial.
I didn't see that one. No.
So it's on that trial where Vince is on the trial. The Pat's not really in it, but in the real story, like Pat is talking all over himself and blubbering and lying and like just really bad on the stand. So in that heated moment, they're just catching him left and right and setting him up to look bad. So like I almost feel like if Bret would have been like pulled Pat to the side and is like, is everything gonna be straight? I wonder if Pat would have broke.
Yeah, holy shit. What if he's like, nah, it's gonna be straight, but then pass that note. Tear this after you read it. And then Bret goes out there and just wipes the bat with Shawn. And it's gonna be a shitty match because real fights are not as good usually.
Yeah.
Unless it's Gaethje versus Chandler.
Yeah.
Oh man. What could have been,
Crazy. Very crazy.
The business would have died. Do you think business would have died though? Not died, I guess, but like it was because this ignited WWE, right? Like this really got people like, we got to tune this show.
The rating was excellent the next night.
Yeah, because it's all everyone can talk about, and we still talk about this day. Look at us, right, on this podcast. So
yeah, I know.